ball with. Drake! Look at the aim! Go!
Welcome to episode 5 of the Predictors podcast, covering week 4 of the 2024 NFL season, and we're looking forward to week 5. As always, we have Dr. Provencher, world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, bringing his unique knowledge gained from being the Patriots head surgeon, the GOAT Zajac, Nate Dogg, predictor extraordinaire, and your boy J-Rock. Couple of quick hits from the week. The Commanders did have the highest bus score, absolutely crushed the Cardinals. You got to trust the bus. Week 5 is also the first week for bye week. Lions, Chargers, Eagles, and Titans will all be taking byes later this week. The Nick Chubb practice window is opening up. He's got 21 days to be moved to an active roster or be put on a season-ending IR. The Colts took down the previously undefeated Steelers. Jaden Daniels is the truth. Burrow was able to keep the Bengals from falling 0-4, and shout out to them boys in Bama for beating those dogs. Let's head right into these injuries. Today we got Tyler hitting us up with wide receiver Christian Watson of the Green Bay Packers, high ankle sprain. Give us a little something on that, Tyler.
Yeah, J-Rock. So Christian Watson went down early in the game with a high ankle sprain. They are saying that there is no fracture involvement, and originally there was talk about IR, but now head coach Matt LaFleur has come out and has said that he assumes he probably miss a week or so. Doc, a week or so for a high ankle in a wide receiver, it's not something we see very often. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go on the or so mindset there. It's going to be several games for Christian. It's a pretty significant injury on the high ankle. It's not as bad as some of the other high ankles we've seen, but definitely there. Wide receiver needs it. The cuts are massive. The ability to stop on a dime. It's going to be several weeks for Christian Watson. The problem is, Tyler's, data at thepredictors.com. When a wide receiver comes back from high ankle, you're looking at 15% down in productivity, receiving yards, first couple games back.
Unfortunate play for Green Bay. Love throwing an interception the same time that injury happened. Let's talk Anthony Richardson, quarterback for the Colts. Nate, do you think this hip pointer is going to be a big deal?
Yeah, J-Rock. Anthony Richardson, he suffered a hip pointer in the game on Sunday. They were up 17 points by the time he left. And, the Colts say he has a shot to play against the Jags on Sunday. But Doc, as a former team doc, what's your analysis on this?
Yeah, hip pointers are something that we can treat with a pretty good speed. Like you can get back pretty quick with a hip pointer. But the problem is it's the core strength, and it's the area that's attached from your pelvis up to your ribs, and the ability for a quarterback to rotate around. And you can ask Drew Brees, you can ask others about this that have had rib fractures, different injury, but it's that same concept of that core strength that's super critical from the pelvis that connects all the way up to your rib cage. And without that, the torque on the ball, the ability to possibly throw that long ball is going to be potentially a challenge. We can do some injections on this. We can do some potential cortisone, depends how the player feels, where the injury exactly is. You can also do some biologics where you put platelet-rich plasma is what it's called, or biologics in the area. But we're just going to have to see how he does. I would potentially expect him to miss this week or be pretty down in terms of overall big yard plays.
Thanks for that, Doc. He did say he was feeling a little sore, but still feeling good after the game the other day. Tyler, talk to me about Jonathan Taylor, running back for the Colts, high ankle sprain. Do you think that this is going to come back and affect him too much, or do you think he's going to run through this?
Well, J-Rock, after the game, he was saying he was feeling pretty good and ready to attack the week. We know that, of course, after playing, he's probably got a lot of adrenaline still going, and that as this week goes on and progresses, he's going to get some swelling. It's probably going to hurt a little bit more. But a source for the teams did say he's okay, and that it was a mild version. So we could see him play this week. But, we know Jonathan Taylor has played through injuries before. He's had high ankle sprains before and been on IR for them before. So he knows, he knows his body. He knows when he has to rest. So if we see him this week, I expect he'll be ready to go. But we could see a little bit loss in production based on what we've seen at the data at the Predictors.
Thanks for that, Tyler. Not his first rodeo. thinking about rodeos here, let's talk about the Cowboys. Tyler, DeMarcus Lawrence and also Micah Parsons. Give us a little info on that. How are the Cowboys going to make it back through this?
Yeah, big hit to their defense, J-Rock. Micah Parsons suffered an ankle injury, probably going to be out this week, which we know he's an amazing pass rusher, great defender. Honestly, probably their best defender. So that's going to be a huge hit to them. DeMarcus Lawrence, on the other hand, Liz Frank injury. Now, Doc, bones are not displaced. They're saying no surgery needed, but a 4 to 8 week recovery process. You've dealt with these before. What are your thoughts? Non-surgical Liz Frank.
Yeah, so Liz Frank injury is exactly that, Tyler. You talked about the injury of this area right here of the foot, and basically there is a lot of ligaments that connect the midfoot to the longer metatarsals. And what ends up happening is you injure this ligament right here from this bone to this bone right here, this long second metatarsal. And if there's splay or displacement, if this thing goes way over, you absolutely have to have surgery. It's season ending. But you can sprain this area by coming down on it hard, a hard landing, getting stepped on badly. So this needs a lot of time to heal because there's a lot of swelling, a lot of edema in this area. I would put him on the closer end to 8 weeks, 6 minimum, maybe 8's hopeful.
Let's talk about Trey Hendrickson here for the Bengals, defensive end, their star pass rusher. Went down against the Panthers with a neck injury. They are saying that there was no nerve damage, which is absolutely great news for him moving forward, as well as the Bengals. But his right arm was seen post-game in a sling in the locker room. We're going to hope that it's not as serious as it could be, but that sling is still going to be a good sign that we do have something to look forward to as far as him needing a recovery for the Bengals. That's going to be a huge hit for their defense. Let's hop into our return from injuries. Tyler, we got Alvin Kamara, played with some broken ribs. Do you think that that's worth playing with, or do you think that he should be pushing that off and recovering fully based on the stats?
Well, J-Rock, I'm assuming he had long, extensive conversations with the medical team to make sure that there was no issues in playing it from a standpoint of, puncturing anything or having more internal damage. From the video, it didn't look like he had a massive pad over massive flak jacket or anything like that. But we know, based on what Doc just said, there had to be some padding there, especially at his position. He did phenomenal. 19 carries for 77 yards and a touchdown, added to 7 receptions for 42 yards. So you can't hate him for playing. He really showed his grit against the in-divisional rival in Atlanta. So it was great to see him out there and playing for his team.
It's interesting, it still affects him. 77 yards, good, Tyler, but it's not Kamara's usual. Kind of predicted. Predictors.com. We know that data because a rib injury in a position like that, you need torque, you need twisting, you got to be able to contort your body to get into the right position. Look at their first few steps as soon as they get handed the ball. It's all through their center core. And so that pain, that inability to fully have that area of the body functioning well right away, that's what we're seeing. 77 yards. Very predicted. So we will see this get better next few weeks, no question.
Absolutely fantastic. That's going to be good news for any Alvin Kamara fans out there. Doc, while we're on a roll here, let's talk about Jordan Love returning from that MCL for Green Bay. Do you think that he came back at a good time?
Yeah, what did he have? Almost 400 yards. Did have a couple of picks. Very tough game. One of the hottest teams in the league, one of the hottest defenses in the league. So definitely wanted to play in this game. Gave it his all. He was 32 of 54. I'm telling you, pretty solid game. I think pretty predicted from us. But also Tyler, we've shown this in our graphics that we've been putting out on Jordan Love. He's going to be down a little bit, and I think we showed a little bit of that. But he certainly rose to the occasion against a very tough team.
You love to see it. Justin Herbert, another quarterback coming back for the Chargers, played after a high ankle last week. Tyler, how do you think he did? Do you think he should have came back?
No, I think they should have rested him. To be honest, he only had 179 yards and a touchdown. It went 16 for 27. We talked about this last week. They have a bye week this week. I think we know why he came back. They were playing the Chiefs. He wanted to be in that game. He wanted to give his team a chance to win that game. But at the end of the day, I think if he had taken last week off plus the bye week this coming week, it would have been a huge help for his ankle. But they made the decision to put him out there. Doc, you had talked about this a little bit and put out some content on this. What were your thoughts on Justin Herbert's play this weekend?
Yeah, exactly as predicted. What do we got here? 16 to 27, 179 yards, 1 touchdown. You could see him at times limping. It's not his ankle. It's not the way he wants. It's not 100% healthy. Health matters. This is very predictable. Our data, again, thepredictors.com shows, Justin Herbert's as tough as they come. It's unbelievable what this guy was doing out there. And you look at what he's got, Tyler, and the ability to do what he did. I'm actually impressed with what he did, but it's not the usual Justin Herbert performance. Not close, not what we saw. He wanted to obviously play in that game, but a healthier Herbert wins this game.
Absolutely fantastic. Moving on here, we got Deebo Samuel, wide receiver for the 49ers, finally playing after that calf injury. Let's go Cox, former Gamecock himself. Nate, can you go ahead and tell us about Deebo? How do you think he did coming back?
Yeah, J-Rock. It was clear that the 49ers were being careful with Deebo. Jordan Mason is still the lead back on this team, as Deebo finished with 58 receiving yards and 14 rushing yards. So, Doc, if this were you as their team doc, are you going to continue to limit Deebo like they are?
Yeah, that's it's always a complex decision between the coach, the medical staff, in terms of how you limit players and try to get them healthy. The problem with a calf injury, you can ask Joe Burrow, you can ask many others that have had this in the league, they can linger. It's like a hamstring. It's a little bit of the quicksand that we call on the field, and these can be a problem. And I think we did see that. Obviously, they limited his play. When he did play, he had some pretty good situational setups out there. But this was predicted. Again, our data shows this, and a guy like that, and you're talking to a guy that's should be getting a lot more because of all the other injuries the 49ers have, although they were starting to get a little healthier last week, but now they're dealing with some more stuff. So I think we'll see Deebo continue to improve, but I think it's at least another 2 games to 3 till we see Deebo back in his usual form.
We want to see Deebo charged up out there. Like Doc said, we got possibly about 2 to 3 games before we get him full strength. Tyler, can you give us a little bit on George Kittle? He did go for 4 receptions, 45 yards, and 1 touchdown. Do you think that George Kittle is looking really well again, or do you think he still has some injury time left in him to come back strong?
I'd say he's working his way back in after that hamstring. 45 yards is a good amount, but George Kittle, we know what he can do. We know how big of a game changer that he can be from that tight end position. 45 is not his normal. Someone else like Chris Olave, who came back from a hamstring this week as well, in the same week that he had the hamstring, and had 87 yards as a wide receiver, is a little bit more crazy to me than what George Kittle did. I think that he did great for coming back from a hamstring, but it's as expected in what we'd think that looks like his first game back.
Thanks for that, Tyler. So that is all we have for the return from injuries. Let's get into some expectations for games of the week. Tyler, who do you got rocking for game of the week this week?
Well, hey, J-Rock, I got the Ravens versus the Bengals. Big divisional rivalry in the AFC North there. We already know you've told us about Trey Hendrickson, his stinger. So the Bengals may be down a key pass rusher. Maybe he's able to play. We're not sure yet. But it doesn't matter when you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. The guy is just going off right now. 199 yards rushing this past week and a touchdown on top of another touchdown receiving.
Didn't he have over 200 and they sort of corrected him or down to 1? I don't know. They recalibrated or something.
Yeah, I don't. He had
Unbelievable.
over 200 total for sure between his receiving and rushing. And this is the second week that he's just gone off, especially after all these teams called him washed up and all people called him washed up. But he is showing that he's still got it behind that Baltimore O-line. That team's starting to come into their own. Baltimore has the higher bus. So I guess we ride Baltimore. As Nate always says, trust the bus. So going with Baltimore. But Cincinnati is favored at home, so should be a fun game to watch.
Looking forward to for sure. Doc, give us your game of the week. Who should the people be tuning into?
Yeah, this one's interesting, and it's mostly because there could be some other implications going on here based on how the Jaguars do at 0-4. They're playing the Colts. The Colts are playing in Jacksonville. Jaguars 0-4. Colts dealing with a couple injuries. We already dealt with it. Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, we may see him this week in a limited capacity. We're going to have to see. I think they probably rest him a week. And you would probably want them to, although Jacksonville's favored by 3 points right now. Hard to believe at 0-4, but they're home. And with all the injuries going on with the Colts, you're going to have to worry about what the real deal is here. And you got to trust the bus. They're banged up, and it's a big problem. So we're going to have to see how this Colts-Jags game is, because it's going to have other implications down the road. Jags go 0-5. There could be some changes coming at the coaching level.
Most definitely. It would almost appear as though Trevor Lawrence is trying to follow in Bryce Young's footsteps. Nate, game of the week. People watch one game. What do you put them on to be an explosive match?
Yeah, J-Rock, it's easy. I got the Saints at Chiefs in Kansas City. The Chiefs are still 4-0, but, Rashee Rice, they lost him due to a probably torn ACL. And the Chiefs are favored, but once again, just like my prediction last week, Cardinals are favored in this game, but the Commanders do have the highest bus score. So I'm going to go ahead and trust the bus. The unfavored team has the higher bus score. So it may sound risky. I'd be careful with this one, but health does matter. I think it will matter in this game. So trust the bus.
Let's go, baby. Hopefully that one pops off. For my game of the week, we got Broncos versus the Raiders in Denver. I might pick myself up tickets and head down to Denver in the Mile High, see what the boys got going on down there. They're both 2-2. The Broncos do have 2 big wins on the road, so they're fired up coming into the Mile High City. Devontae Adams was out against the Browns with a hamstring injury that occurred during practice last Thursday, and Max Crosby could still be out as well. The Broncos are going to hopefully try to exploit that and get a dub. But crazy stat here, the Broncos have actually been beaten 8 straight games by the Raiders. The last time that the Broncos actually beat the Raiders was when they were the Oakland Raiders back in 2019. So the Raiders do have a crazy record right now against the Broncos, but how fired up they are off the road, I can see Bo Nix and the boys getting it done for sure, which would be great to see. So thanks you all for joining us here at the Predictors Podcast, episode 5. Today we covered week 4, and we are looking towards week 5. Follow us on Twitter at @thepredictors_, and visit our website, thepredictors.com, for up-to-date league information, including injuries, fantasy football information, and much more. Join us again next week for the pains and gains of the NFL that matter the most, with the people that know the most. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Go!